Think about the power of music, migration, and memory, all shaping identity beyond national borders. That's where Paul Gilroy's work comes alive. Born in 1956, Gilroy is an English sociologist and cultural studies scholar, widely recognized as one of the most influential voices on race, diaspora, and identity. Today, he serves as the founding director of the Sarah Parker Remond Center for the Study of Race and Racism at University College London. In 2019, he was awarded the prestigious Holberg Prize for his groundbreaking contributions across cultural studies, sociology, anthropology, and African American studies. Pause here and note this Gilroy Central project has been dismantling racial myths. He challenged the stereotype of black criminality, showing how statistics often reflect police stereotyping and racist labeling rather than objective truth. His work demonstrates how race and racism shape public perception, national identity, and state policies, especially toward immigrants. In the 1990s, his theories became crucial for black British communities, providing intellectual tools to resist exclusion and redefine belonging. Now, can you recall his two most famous books? The first is There Ain't No Black in the Union Jack, published in 1987, a sharp critique of race and nationalism in Britain. The second, and perhaps his masterpiece, is The Black Atlantic, Modernity and Double Consciousness, published in 1993. This book changed how we think about diaspora. Instead of tying identity to one nation, Gilroy described the Black Atlantic as a transnational cultural space shaped by slavery, displacement, and historical trauma. He called it a counterculture of modernity, a site where African, American, Caribbean, and British cultural traditions mix, creating new forms of identity and expression. The structure of the book itself shows the richness of this idea. It includes chapters like The Black Atlantic as a Counterculture of Modernity, Masters, Mistresses, Slaves, and the Antinomies of Modernity, Jewels Brought from Bondage, Black Music and the Politics of Authenticity, and Not a Story to Pass On, Living Memory and the Slave Sublime. Notice how he moves from philosophy to literature and from W.B. Du Bois to Richard Wright, always connecting culture, history, and politics. Imagine looking at Irish literature not just as art, but as a response to colonization. That's exactly what Declan Kiberd, born in 1951, has been doing throughout his career. An Irish writer, critic, and scholar, Kiberd applies post-colonial theory to understand modern Irish literature. Pause here and note this: he is not limited to English texts. He also studies Irish language works, exploring the cultural tensions that arise from centuries of colonial history. Kiberd argues that Irish writers have consistently grappled with themes of identity, power, and resistance, and that their work is best understood within a post-colonial framework. As a professor at the University of Notre Dame and a member of the advisory board of the International Review of Irish Culture, a journal influenced by the Frankfurt School, Kiberd positions literature at the crossroads of politics and cultural theory. His more recent book, After Ireland, published in 2018, reflects on how contemporary Irish society and literature continue to wrestle with questions of belonging and imagination. Increasingly, he comments on social and political issues, showing how literature remains central to the Irish struggle for identity. Now let's shift from literature to geography, but not geography as a neutral science. Derek Gregory, also born in 1951, is a British academic who has transformed how we think about space, war, and colonialism. His most influential book, The Colonial Present, published in 2004, examines Western interventions in Afghanistan, Palestine, and Iraq after the September 11th attacks. Gregory shows how media and political discourse sustained Orientalist and neocolonialist assumptions, narratives that justify domination and control under the name of security. Pause here, it's a powerful application of postcolonial theory outside of literature. Drawing on Giorgio Agamben's concept of the state of exception, Gregory explains how governments suspend normal laws to legitimize violence and occupation. In this way, geography itself becomes political. It's not about maps and landscapes, but about power. His earlier work, Geographical Imaginations from 1994, explored how space, place, and landscape connect with social theory. Engaging with thinkers like David Harvey, Gregory argued that imagined geographies actively shape cultural and political realities. Imagine being a young black student in Paris during the 1930s, surrounded by European culture that constantly told you your heritage was inferior. Out of this experience emerged one of the most powerful literary and political movements of the 20th century, negritude. And the man who actually coined the word itself was Aimé Césaire, a poet, author and politician from Martinique. Pause here and underline this: the term negritude was coined by Césaire, and this has been asked in exam. The negritude movement sought to affirm black identity and celebrate African heritage against the pressures of assimilation into French culture. It was a movement born not in Africa but in Paris, among French-speaking African and Caribbean writers. And note this carefully, it was directed specifically against the French imperial system, not against British colonialism. This distinction too has been asked in exam. Césaire's literary achievements gave the movement its emotional power. His long poem Cahiers d'un retour au pays natal, published in 1939, explores exile, alienation, and the rediscovery of identity. Later, his play Une Tempête reimagined Shakespeare's The Tempest. But this time, Caliban is not a submissive character. He becomes a symbol of anti-colonial resistance against Prospero. And in his essay Discourse on Colonialism, Césaire tore apart the moral claims of empire, exposing its violence and dehumanization with searing clarity. Pause here, this is where critics enter the picture. Vol Soyinka once mocked negritude for fetishizing the idea of the native, while Creole writers criticized it for treating black identity as monolithic and ignoring diversity. These debates were asked in exam, and they remind us that even radical movements face challenges from within. Césaire was not just a writer, he was a politician as well. In 1958, he founded the Parti Progressiste Martiniquais, aligning his poetic vision with real political action for autonomy and justice in Martinique. So, what's the takeaway? Aimé Césaire positioned negritude as more than a cultural movement, it was a form of resistance. Through poetry, drama, essays, and politics, he gave colonized people a language of pride and dignity. His voice still echoes today, reminding us that literature can be both beautiful and revolutionary.